What is good, people? Back with another video, and this is how we collected a client $1.2 million in the first 30 days of working together. Okay, so this will be going over everything from the start of the launch to how we launched to how many calls we booked to what numbers we were doing to the lessons I've learned, and I'll take the next time we do a launch like this. Everything you need to know about a launch like this. Okay, but this is what gave us the confidence to even work with this client. Number one, he's never sold high ticket before, which was a huge, huge thing for the reason why this went so well. Um, Number two is he had a cult like audience. Cult like audience. People freaking love this guy, and it obviously made the launch a layup. Had sold a $1,500 course for like 8 years, so he just had this like kind of mid ticket course that he's been just selling by year by year by year, but never like hands on coaching. So like people have been waiting for this for like years and years and years. He actually does a business model. He has videos of him making hundreds of thousands of dollars in I'm not gonna tell you what client it is, but like in a little bit of time. And he's just known as like one of the goats of this industry. So obviously that helped. Um, has had a personal brand for over close to a decade and agreed to do one-on-one coaching. I think this enough should tell you why this was not even a hard number to hit. And honestly, we probably should have hit a bigger number, right? So I'm not coming on here telling you like, oh my god, this is the hardest launch ever. This was the uh, masterpiece. Like, if anything, I think like the last one I posted was more impressive, taking a client from 30K a month with nothing working to 400K a month. I think that's a more impressive case study than this. But I would just like to talk about how launches and how they work, because I've done a few of them and they've done super super well. So we'll talk about like the marketing and the sales sequences that happened prior to the launch. So in terms of the marketing, we had like a 15 to 20-day story sequence. The usual like, oh, I have something coming on this date, and people in the DMs are excited, like, oh, what is it? What is it? What is it? And again, going back to the fact that people have been waiting on this thing for like literally 8 years. People were excited. They're like, oh my god, like this is gonna be so cool. Then we actually created a wait list. The cool thing about the wait list is it kind of gave us like what they want to see inside of the program. So like even when we were making the deliverables, it actually helped us like come up with like a structure for the program. So we put that wait list into, and obviously I'm on the sales side, so like the marketing was done by the marketer. But we took the wait list and put it inside of a Telegram group. So like we would just send the messages here and there and be like, get excited, get ready for X date or whatever. Just usual marketing stuff. There was a lot of scarcity throughout the process. Wasn't fake though, because again, we were mostly talking about the one-on-one coaching, which we only had a few slots for, because obviously if we were to close thousands of people in one-on-one coaching, the influencer would have a very very hard time fulfilling for that. We just kept hyping up the date, so like everyone would just remember, oh, this is the date, this is the date we're launching, this is the date we're launching. And then it came to the launch. So like there was nothing like, oh my god, astronomical about it, but like with the layup of the client compare, and then with all this stuff, it worked out super 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 well. Um, then in terms of the sales side, again, nothing astronomical, right? We started hiring about 2.5 weeks before the launch. A lot of the guys have that I hired for this launch have worked with me in the past, so like I didn't really have to do much training because I knew these guys could perform already. We started off with 2 DM setters, 3 phone setters, and 5 closers. Um, Onboarded them with SOPs, scripts, more about the offer, more about the influencer, and more importantly, I got them hyped as well because I had a feeling of how big this could be, and they were kind of like not totally aware of it, but like I was like, look, like you guys have the ability to make a lot of money, help a lot of people, and like I got them excited as much as excited as we were, right? So this is what we did prior to launch. Okay. Then going into the launch, this is what kind of happened, right? So emails, IG stories, Telegram messages all went out that the product is launched. We're ready to go. Um, it was a simple VSL call funnel. And we ended up booking around 500 calls within like 3 or 4 hours, which is freaking crazy. This is where started some of the freaking out started to happen, and I'll tell you exactly why. Um, we launched around 11 a.m. Eastern time, and we didn't have our first call until about 1 p.m. Eastern time. But I'll tell you exactly why the freaking out started to happen. Um, of course, the phone setters, DM setters were starting to print. We had people end up booking like 2 or 3 weeks in advance, and this is where like the biggest issue had came into play, because like with the launch, you never really know how it's going to go unless you did something similar to in the past. Again, this person has never launched, so it could have even went super well or could have totally flopped based on all the parameters I told you. Like we probably should have saw this coming, but it's very hard to say rather than it's just harder to track what's going to happen or not, right? So we ended up booking out calls 2 or 3 weeks out, which obviously was a huge issue. This is the first issue that started appearing. Setters did not have any space to start booking calls because like, the first thing in your head is like, oh yeah, the show rate's gonna be bad. But also too, it was just a lot of complaining, obviously for a good reason of like, dude, I can't book anyone out. Like, I'm not gonna make any money on this launch, da 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 da, because my calls won't be out for like 3 weeks. And that's where I had to move and sprint and actually find new closers so I could get them on the calendar as soon as possible, right? Obviously, the hot commodity was 1-1 coaching, so we ended up filling these slots within like 3 or 4 days. Um, and we collected around, I think, if I had to look back and see if this is correct, but we collected around 150K cash on the first day. Um, Obviously, it was a good feeling. I was a cloud nine, but at the same time, too, um, I was freaking out on like what I needed to do to get the calls that are 2 or 3 weeks in advance on sooner. So of course, I was interviewing. I was hitting up all my boys like, "Yo, I need closers for this launch. Or we just collected this much money. Like, all right, like buy me closers." Da 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 da. Um, we averaged about 100K a day for the first 4 or 5 days. Again, with 5 closers. I hired 4 closers, and then I started reassigning leads, and we would post more CTAs. And as expected, the show rate for the appointments that were days later and weeks later was a lot lower of a show rate and a lot lower of quality. So I'll be honest, the people that were on the first 5 closers obviously made a lot more money than the next 4 closers. But we'll get that in a little bit more. Finally, we did have space though for the setters to actually start setting appointments onto the calendar that weren't a month out in advance. Um, Again, we ended up selling out the one-on-one slots in like 5 to 6 days, and then we focused on the group coaching offer from there. Right. Um, what I would say about the 4 closers that I hired after the launch, um, I would say that those people were probably more quality of closers, like, they had more experience, they've been in the game longer than the 5 that I had on before, but even not even like I'll take it for the first week. Of course, the 5 closers were gonna make more money because those are the ones taking the calls, but even after that, like, my guys that had less experience just outdid all these people, um with more experience just because they wanted it more. They would take more calls, they would confirm their calls. They were asking about financing, they were getting deposits. Like they're just doing more, and that's why they ended up making so much more than the closers, even with more experience, right? Um, and we'll get into this. So then, of course, we collected $1.2 million in the first 30 days. But this is why I think it should have been 2 mil. If we had those 9 closers on the launch and like that first day, we probably would have done like 250K. Um, the show rate would have been much better and the hype wouldn't have died down because like you got to think about the hype from the first day that they booked. Imagine if someone had that call booked and their call wasn't out for 2 weeks. Like, of course, like we would move them up. We were even closing some people in the DMs and stuff like that, but the hype just wasn't there, right? So like if we had 9 closers on launch, we probably would have freaking crushed it even more. And also too, it was a hassle getting financing for the offer owner because he was just taking forever doing that. So like if we had that, we obviously our PIF percentage would have been much higher, and we probably would end up making more money. So those are probably the biggest 2 things that stopped us from getting to where I wanted it to be. Obviously, I can't complain with this number, but these are probably the 2 biggest things that stopped us from getting to like 2 mil. And here were the lessons learned. So, and this is one thing about me is I just tend not to overhire to keep the team more happy. But hiring more at the start probably would allow us to make more. So it's always that trade off, right? Because you'll see like these big influencers and they'll have like a 60-person sales team and like their lowest guy is making like $250 a month. And it's like, yeah, those lowest guys like just aren't happy. Like I'd rather have a smaller and happier team, but at the same time too, you're just gonna make less money. So it's like, what trade off do you want, right? Um, Number 2 is make sure fulfillment is ready for a big launch. Don't get me wrong, like everyone got what they wanted, but like even me and the person I took this on with like had to like hop in and help them with fulfillment. So Jay, shout out for that. But like we had to hop in and like help with fulfillment and be like people were like freaking out and we're like, okay, don't worry, don't freak out. Like we'll get you this, we'll get you that. We should have definitely made sure that the influencer had a team before launching this big. Again, you never really know how big it's going to be, right? Um, Number 3, like I talked about before, hiring A players sounds amazing until you need them to do simple stuff like fill out end of day reports, confirm their calls, all that kind of stuff. And that's why all of my people with less experience made more money because they're just willing to do the little things. Like my top guy made 47 grand in that month of working with us, and I think our top setter made like 17 grand that month. So crazy numbers. It's just like they were willing to take calls all day and confirm all the calls and make sure the show rate is good. Um, and then another huge thing that we needed to definitely focus on was focusing what it was gonna be like post-launch. So, of course, like, the launch was hot, amazing, but, like, obviously, our numbers went down a lot, because we never focused on, like, marketing and new ways to get in leads after the launch. So, like, that was a huge thing, and, like, the offer obviously isn't doing $1.2 million a month, unfortunately. So, like, that's a huge one. The last one is like, I've dealt with a 4-day, 60-person launch so far, but this is way less stressful. But like, dude, you got to be on your phone all day. Like, I was making payment links, helping with fulfillment, calming down salespeople that were mad that their appointments weren't going to be booked out for like 30 days in advance. Closers were or setters were like missing meetings. Like, it was just a whole mess. Um, I think what people think is like they see these launches as like, oh my God, everything had to be perfect. Bro, no business is perfect. Every business has their flaws. Every business, every launch has their moments of where like the A players are like freaking out. Like, dude, it's not a easy and not stressful thing. It's a very stressful thing. But like the 60-person day launch that I did like a year ago was way more stressful. But overall, this was really, really solid. Obviously, we made a good little bag on this, and it was really, really cool to be a part of something like this. So if you like videos like these, let me know. But I will see you guys in the next one.